A deceased prom queen, a wide-eyed, endearing FBI agent, and a small town that holds not just beautiful trees, but dark, haunting secrets. This is Twin Peaks. The series of Twin Peaks ran from 1990 to 1991 in its initial two-season run, before returning to the home of viewers for a third season back in 2017, along with a prequel film known as Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. All three are from the brilliant mind of David Lynch, who unfortunately has passed away recently, which prompted myself and several of his fans to revisit some of his work in a way to honor and pay tribute to his legacy and contributions to the world of cinema and television. Twin Peaks is a series that I watched a few years back when I was still in film school. While I enjoyed it initially, I wasn't in love with it. However, it was a series that over time, the more I thought about, the more it stuck with me. Lynch's blend of surrealism and realism was captivating and inspiring, managing to tell a really weird and out there story but still retain a level of relatability and humanity will never not be impressive. After Lynch's passing, Twin Peaks was obviously near the top of my list of projects to return to. That of course leads me to the point of this video. I can now safely say that out of all the TV series I've seen, and it's a lot of them, Twin Peaks perhaps has the best and flat out most perfect pilot episode of any television series. Now, don't get me wrong, plenty of other series throughout history have had incredible and stellar pilots. Lost reeled audiences in with its mystery and enticing setup. Breaking Bad from the opening shot threw us into a perfect crime thriller. Game of Thrones introduced us to a series-long overarching threat, a vast amount of characters, and integrated us into the world of Westeros and Essos with pure ease. But, in my opinion, none of them truly captured the essence of a pilot in the way that Twin Peaks does, and I'll explain why. From the opening credits, which feature a somber melody that audiences will become very familiar with throughout the pilot and subsequently rest of the series, to the odd font and neon green color of the text that appears, right away, just through these opening credits, tone and atmosphere are immediately established. You know from the music that you're about to watch and witness something sad and truly heartbreaking, and the oddly colored text clues you in that you're about to see something unusual. You're about to experience something strange, and maybe even otherworldly. Within the first few minutes of the pilot, the series' main plot is kicked off when the body of high school popular girl and prom queen Laura Palmer is found murdered and wrapped in a plastic body bag. The death of a young teenage girl sends shockwaves throughout the town of Twin Peaks, and throughout the pilot we are then introduced to almost all of the major players that will play a part in the unraveling mystery of the death of Laura Palmer. This is brilliant, and it may seem obvious, but it's crucial to making the perfect pilot, as we get to see the reactions and emotions of a wide variety of different townsfolk, those close to Laura, her friends and family, and some who just knew of her. But this does a few things that are incredibly pivotal. 1. It allows us to know the importance of a character like Laura Palmer. Of course, any parent finding out their daughter is dead is a tragedy and endlessly heartbreaking. Same goes for her close friends. But the scenes involving her parents and friends showcase she was truly loved by those who she kept close in her life. 2. It shows the kind of town that Twin Peaks is, which is important because the town becomes a character in and of itself in the series. Seeing how local law enforcement and other adults and students react to the loss of Laura showcases this isn't some large sprawling town. It's small, tight-knit, everybody knows everybody. Just seeing the scene of the school's principal break down in tears while trying to make the announcement of Laura's death is so crucial to establishing the kind of town where the story is set. 3. As mentioned, it allows us to get intimate knowledge and clue us in on a lot of the major players that will be involved for the rest of the series. In a murder mystery, perhaps the most integral element to setting up and telling an effective murder mystery is an adequate amount of properly developed red herrings or suspects. 4. And lastly, seeing these characters interact and deal with the news of Laura Palmer's death just gives a better understanding of the dynamics and relationships in the world of Twin Peaks. So often a pilot of a show may be enticing and have an interesting setup, but what I love about Twin Peaks is that in just the pilot alone, by the end of it, you have such a good fundamental understanding of this town and its people. It's a world that feels lived in. They don't feel like characters that were just birthed out of a writer's head. They feel like real living people with wants, desires, fears, hopes, dreams. we're not just picking up with them at the time where a major thing like Laura's death happens. Instead, we more so stumble upon them when their already complicated lives are abruptly altered by the passing of a young teenage girl. Another brilliant detail is that the protagonist of the series, FBI agent Dale Cooper, played by Kyle MacLachlan, is not introduced into the story until around 40 minutes in. That gives us 40 minutes to just be exposed and introduced to the world of Twin Peaks and its residents, before the real investigation into Laura's murder begins. I absolutely love how well Agent Cooper is characterized in the pilot as well. Sure, in a lot of the best pilots, you get a strong sense of who the main character is. You know Walter White is a man willing to do anything. You know that Jack in Lost is a leader and will always try to save people. You know that Tommy Shelby is cold and hardened, but loyal and strategic. But in just a few minutes of screen time in the pilot, you know exactly who Agent Cooper is. He's wide-eyed and optimistic, and is easily delighted by the little things in life, like a good slice of cherry pie or a beautiful tree. You never doubt when he's taping himself, because he's the exact type of person to do this kind of thing. And while wide-eyed and seemingly a bit easygoing, he's also a straight shooter who knows when to be serious. At the end of the day, he may be charmed by the beautiful trees and hospitality of the small town of Twin Peaks, but he's ultimately here to solve a gruesome murder and uncover a mystery. By the end of the pilot, they do such a good job at giving you a reason to care about the death of Laura Palmer. It's not just that it's a teenage girl, which would be sad enough on its own, a girl who had her entire life ahead of her. But this was a girl that was adored and loved by her friends, family, and the town she grew up in. And on top of getting you to invest in her and her murder, they introduce you to a very charming and likable protagonist whom you easily root for. You want Agent Cooper to catch the bad guy and catch whoever did this. You're on his side for more reasons than one. And with that perfect dynamic set up between the victim involved in the murder and the man tasked with solving it, you have all of that in the forefront. Meanwhile, an entire town of real people with their own real problems who may or may not be linked to Laura's death all lie in the shadows. The final thing I wanted to highlight in this perfect pilot is the ending, as it ends with Laura's two friends meeting in private, to which James mentions he was with Laura before she died, and she was different, saying how Laura mentioned nobody really knew her, even her friends and family. And just like that, the entire last 90 minutes of the pilot are recontextualized. Now the sweet homecoming queen who seemed beloved by all is a part of the same secrets and shadows that haunt the quiet town. Now the mystery has added layers. No longer is this just solving Laura's murder, it's finding out what Laura was involved in that led to her untimely death. Again, there are amazing pilots across the history of television, some that are action-packed, some that are slow burn setups, but none in my opinion perfectly set up the tone, atmosphere, story, and characters in such a way as Twin Peaks. As for David Lynch, rest in peace, an absolute tour de force in the world of cinema and truly one of the most creative minds of his time. I think I might do an entire video on Lynch at some point and his legacy, so stay tuned for that. And lastly, what in your opinion is the greatest TV pilot of all time? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below and what your favorites are. And as always, if you liked the video, make sure to click the like button, subscribe if you want to hear more from me, and click the little bell notification button so you get notified when I post new content. And of course, I will see you guys on the next video.